With the Celtics losing 4 of their last 6 games, lots of fans are questioning, is it time to make a move? Is it time for Brad Stevens to strike? So we're going to be looking at some reports, and I'm going to be going over what I think would be the perfect way for the Celtics to still be able to keep some of their top tier pieces, but make some moves around the edges to still give this team a competitive edge on that offensive and defensive side that fans want to see addressed. We're going to be diving into all of this and looking at these moves in this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez, and I want to say shout out to you guys for showing your love and support on the channel throughout this 2024. It has been absolutely appreciative as we have risen up through the ranks. We have gotten 3,000 subscribers this year, and we're so close to that goal of 6,000 subscribers. So if you want to help us get to that goal, we are less than 70 away. Please continue to hit that like button and subscribe button, as it does mean the world. Without further ado though, let's dive into this video and let's explore some possible changes that the Celtics can make, as I think these 3 moves that the Celtics could get themselves invested in with Brad Stevens would be interesting to explore. It can help bolster the Celtics on the defensive and offensive side, something that they have gotten worse at this season due to some injuries. And due to get some of these players getting older, the Celtics have lacked some interior presence, with Kristaps Porziņģis getting beaten up and injured for a majority of the season, and with Al Horford getting a little bit older. And they've been lacking some three-point shooting, with Sam Hauser dealing with this back injury off the wing. And the Celtics could use to see some of that improvement. And a lot of fans have been looking at some possible names and possible moves that could spice it up. And I think I got 3 perfect moves that could do so. So let's dive in and let's look at them. The first move that I want to break down is involving a trade, and that trade is going to be around the name of Jaden Springer. As we have seen, the Celtics been having his name in trade talks dating back to the offseason when they tried to sign Lonnie Walker and weren't unable to. I do believe that the Celtics are still looking to move Jaden Springer and weren't willing to move off Jaylen Springer due to the fact that they were required to attach draft capital. But at this moment, the Celtics know they're not going to be able to bring back Springer, and they don't have the money to retain him for next season, as he's a restricted free agent. Therefore, the Celtics know that if they even have to attach draft capital to Jaden Springer, they're going to have to make a move, as he's not really fitting into their guard rotation with Peyton Pritchard's emergence as a scorer alongside Jrue Holiday and Derrick White. So I truly believe that for the Celtics, moving Springer could be key. And for Springer, it's a little bit difficult, as he makes $4 million and the Celtics are strapped in the second apron. But I think this move here is the best move for the Celtics involving Jaden Springer. And courtesy of Spot Track, we're going to be sending Jaden Springer to the Brooklyn Nets, not too far away, into an Atlantic Division opponent, for Day'Ron Sharpe. And Springer could be a nice defensive guard who could flourish on a young Brooklyn Nets team. They necessarily don't have any solid defensive guards as well. They just traded away Dennis Schroeder, just obviously recently brought back Anthony Melton, who's out for the year. They could look to explore him. D'Angelo Russell was just traded there as well for Dorian Finney-Smith, and he's more of an offensive piece, and his name could also be potentially traded or bought out. And also from the likes of Cam Thomas, their other guard that they have in their rotation, he's more of an offensive guard. They have a young guard in Derrick White, who has shown some ability on the playmaking side, but they don't have that all-out dog defensive player. And a guy like Jaden Springer could be that young defensive piece that could just find his way to Brooklyn, and being a diamond in the rough on a pretty bad Brooklyn team could find himself rotational minutes, find him that opportunity to showcase an offensive skill set. And if he fully develops an offensive skill set, could be a really nice piece for them. They've also rumored to be linked to wanting to trade Day'Ron Sharpe. They already have an enormous amount of big men with guys like Noah Clowney, obviously re-signing Nicholas Claxton, and wanting to be in that hunt for Cooper Flagg. They don't necessarily need all these big men. Day'Ron Sharpe could also be a viable piece for the Boston Celtics as a rim protector and as a rebounder, as that is what he does pretty solid. If we want to look at his stats for the year, this season averaging around 6.5 points, 5.4 rebounds, shooting around 40% from the field and 16% from 3. Now, obviously, he's not a 3-point shooting big. He's going to be a big that is going to stay in the paint at 6'11", 265, a little bit of a bigger body and a guy that is going to be able to contain these slower bigs and be able to stop them. Similar to what Al Horford can do for the Boston Celtics, Day'Ron Sharpe can provide that while also being an aggressive rebounder and shot blocker and rim protector, which is also something the Celtics need, as we've seen with obviously their lack of rim protection through guys like Kornet, Kata, and Tillman in some instances. But obviously, if you're going to acquire a big, you might be asking myself, Bruce, if we already have so many bigs. And that is correct. If we want to look at this roster, we already have a lot of bigs. So why would we be adding another big? Well, unfortunately, that's because one big would be leaving this rotation. And I think that comes in with the second move here, which ultimately would be moving a piece in either Xavier Tillman or Namus Caden. And it's ultimately what teams are looking for. Luke Kornet, I believe, has a stay here in Boston, even though he's only on a one-year deal. He has solidified himself as the better of these bigs for the Celtics and more consistent being the better one for these bigs. But Kata and Tillman have had some fight and competition, and Tillman has been the one that has kind of fallen out of that rotation. And personally, I'm big supporters of both of them, and I want them both to succeed alongside Jaden Springer. But I think it's gotten to the point for the Celtics organization and fans that they've realized that some of these players may necessarily not be the right fits and haven't been the best solutions for what the Celtics need. And if the Celtics are wanting to chase a championship and are having some holes and running into some injuries, some players are going to have to be expendable. And for these players, they are not really playing for the Celtics as well. So for them to get another opportunity to showcase their skills and to be getting playing time, I think it is key. So if we're looking with a trade like a center, you got to look with Xavier Tillman and Namus Kata, trying to find some parties that could utilize a center. And I think this is a trade that could realistically help out both teams as well. And that's diving in and looking at a trade sending Xavier Tillman to a familiar face in Charles Lee at the Charlotte Hornets. And the Celtics obviously would be receiving nothing in return. They would be receiving a second round pick via Charlotte this year. Now, this could be a future second round pick. This pick could have protections on it, but ultimately the Celtics are just trading away Xavier Tillman to free open that roster spot in that rotation for Day'Ron Sharpe and are going to be taking back a second round pick and value. And for a team like Charlotte, this is a beneficial trade as they have seen a plethora of injuries to their big man group, with Mark Williams recently coming back but dealing with injuries throughout the season. Nick Richards dealing with stuff. They've had to go to the likes of players like Taj Gibson, who is an aging player, Moussa Diabate, and even on a two-way contract, and even Grant Williams playing at the center position, which resulted in him getting that season-ending injury. So clearly the issue at the center position has been trouble for the Hornets, and adding a player like Xavier Tillman, one specifically who has had previous relations with Charles Lee just last season over on in Boston, I think would be a fantastic add for this Charlotte Hornets organization. Going after a piece that is desperately needed, a guy in Xavier Tillman as well, who brings a little bit of a different big skill set compared to Nick Richards, compared to Mark Williams as a switchable big, as a guy who can play alongside Mark Williams as well. I think could be a nice additional piece and could find himself as well competing and earning a backup big man spot or backup power forward spot for that Charlotte Hornets culture and direction. And I think it benefits Tillman as well, as he's not a player that is playing for the Celtics as well, so it would give him an opportunity to shine on another team. I do believe that the Hornets could look at a player, his name is Kata as well, but I do believe that the Celtics would trade a player in Xavier Tillman over Namus Kata due to the fact that Tillman has fallen out of the rotation a little bit more than Kata, and they've used Kata as more of a viable piece. But if Charles Lee were to want to go get one of these bigs and reunite with one of them, I think that that would be one of the perfect reunions and would help out both parties as well. The Hornets would have to waive someone with bringing on a player in Tillman, but if they are expected to be sellers at the deadline, they are expected to be moving other pieces, they could move off of another additional contract and have that free roster space for a player like Tillman already, or they could go out and waive one of their guys on their low-end deals on a veteran minimum contract. Next, now you obviously realize the Celtics have addressed this big man situation, but there still is a hole. There still is a question mark. Who is that scorer? Who is that guy that's going to be providing offense for this team? We just addressed the defensive metric, but who's going to be providing that offense? In yesterday's video, we broke down and went over the report linking Lonnie Walker to this Celtics team, as we see from Mark Stein that Lonnie Walker is drawing NBA interest and could be bought out of his Zalgiris contract. Teams to be interested in him are the Sixers, Wolves, Heat, Nuggets, and Celtics, where Walker also went to camp in Boston. And a lot of Celtics fans would love to see Lonnie Walker back, and I think adding him back on a veteran minimum contract would be key. Now, we know the reason he was not brought back was due to the fact the Celtics were already deep in the luxury tax and could not move off Jaden Springer's contract to give Lonnie Walker that 14th roster spot, as they did not want to hold 15 guys to go deep into that luxury tax. But with moving Jaden Springer, with moving Xavier Tillman, and only bringing back Daron Sharp, that leaves the Celtics with 2 open roster spots and allows them to bring in a player like Lonnie Walker to fill in that offensive role for this Celtics team. And Lonnie could be that scorer, could be that producer, could be that all-out wing added offensive plug and play, similar to the Celtics need with Sam Hauser dealing with these injuries. And it gives the Celtics a little bit of a different lineup. It allows them to also explore that 3-and-D wing with Jordan Walsh, as he has shown improvements there as well. And allows the Celtics to also still leave the door open with Jrue Peterson. With Jrue Peterson possibly being a player that has been playing the ranks of the Celtics and could be a guy on a 2-way deal that could earn that final rotation spot. Him and a player like Lonnie Walker compete for that final roster spot. Or if they do give the deal to Lonnie Walker, holding out and still wanting to have a player like Jrue Peterson for the playoffs could be key. And they could still sign Peterson, like I mentioned, as he is on a 2-way deal. So next season they could bring him back as a rotational piece, or they could sign him on a guaranteed contract once the G League season is over, similar to what they did with Neemias Queta last year, to be that 15th and final roster spot. And that's something that I could see the Celtics doing. So ultimately, when looking at these moves, we went over a lot. So I want to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. But this would be the overall final roster going into it. It would be Jrue Holiday, Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Kristaps Porziņģis, Al Horford, Luke Cornett, Daron Sharp, Neemias Queta, Jordan Walsh, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, Lonnie Walker, and Baylor Shireman. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. You have all the starting 5. You have Lonnie Walker and Hauser and Pritchard as those offensive scorers, those offensive pieces. Pritchard and Lonnie at that guard position. Lonnie and Hauser at that wing position, as Lonnie can kind of play both to be that offensive piece. Defensively, you have Walsh, who has shown his increasing of pressure from these previous 2 games with the Pacers in his increased role. He could be that defensive wing off the bench alongside Daron Sharp, providing that defensive pressure and rebounding for the Celtics team, while also having bigs like Kristaps, or Luke Cornett, and Neemias Queta to be those bigs to rim protect, to run at the rim, to shot block, and to be those fundamentally sound offensive rebounders and defensive protectors. I know it's a wild thing to ask for, a little bit of 2K stuff, but I do believe the Celtics were able to move Springer for Sharp, were able to move Tillman for a second-round contract, and able to sign Lonnie Walker. Those would fix the plug-and-play issues on the offensive and defensive side, while still allowing a player like Jordan Walsh to continue to grow in this role as his 3-and-D wing, to give the Celtics their perfect opportunity of competing for a championship. But I want to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. So let me know what you guys ultimately think. Do you guys agree that these moves would help the Celtics? Do you guys disagree? Are there any other moves you would like to see the Celtics make? Drop them down below in the comment section. Like I said, you guys have been absolutely fantastic and showing your love and support throughout the whole year this season. It's been absolutely fantastic. So I want to wish you guys a great new year. There will be no post-game video for the game coming out this afternoon, as I will be busy on the new year. But starting off next year in 2025, the weekly streams will be back. We will be running, doing everything, and we will be here on Celtics Digest trying to get a daily video for you guys. So if you want to stay up to date on everything, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.